Good morning, beautiful people. For those of you that have been watching along with the Dossier Project, you guys know that we are wrapping up our final traits that make a DOS woman. So in those traits, one of the top traits that we chose was critical thinking. And if you guys are watching the critical thinking video at around 8 minutes and 30 seconds, you'll notice a little bubble pops up right next to my head and directs you to this addendum. The reason that we felt strongly about including this addendum is because I believe there's a tremendous parallel between what happened in our country and around the world during the COVID pandemic and what happened in the NXIVM case. And specifically, information that was kept from the American people, from people around the world regarding COVID, the vaccine, and the truth and the science around how the pandemic could have been handled or should have been handled, or what was actually going on behind closed doors. Similarly to that is what was presented to the American people or internationally about the NXIVM case and what actually happened behind closed doors versus what the government, the FBI, and the media wanted people to see. So it's important that you guys, so I think this is a really tremendous example in terms of COVID. I don't know if you guys know who Naomi Wolf is, but she's a tremendously accomplished journalist in our country, and she and 3,000 other journalists or professionals, doctors, researchers, people who understand how to read research, was able to compel the courts to give the Pfizer papers that Pfizer had tried to conceal from the American public to them, to the people, so that they would have access to be able to read through the research, read through all of their papers, and actually be informed about what Pfizer was truly spending their time, money, resources on when looking at the jab. So this textbook has been compiled. It's pretty much a textbook. You'll see it's called the Pfizer Papers. Naomi Wolf is the primary author here. And within the book, you will see that there are a tremendous number of studies, statistics, charts, tissue samples, all sorts of different things that break down the science and the information, the reports that Pfizer was trying to hide from the American people. For those of you that don't know, Pfizer had sought out a court order to hide these papers or to conceal these papers from the people for 75 years. So clearly the people who care about this went through this experience, this horrific experience, would be dead. And those that are not alive yet wouldn't care nor know the horrific nature of what had happened. So again, these 3,000 professionals were able to get those papers from the courts, compel the courts to actually give the information to them, and then they compiled this book for us so that we can actually have the truth about what was going on and stop guessing about all of these incidents of people who are dropping dead spontaneously, clots that are being formed in people's bodies, all sorts of issues that have happened from the vaccine. Now, I encourage you very, very deeply to go ahead and get this book, to do your own research, to actually read it with your own eyes and make a decision for yourself about what you think happened during this time in our life together. And I think, unfortunately, you'll be pretty horrified. Naomi herself she and 8 members of her family died in the Holocaust. And in a talk where she had joined me and several other doctor colleagues of mine in an event where we were speaking, and she was our keynote speaker. And in her own words, she said what she has uncovered in scouring this compilation of papers is far beyond the horrific crimes against humanity that happened in the Holocaust, but that these are by far the greatest hate crimes she has ever experienced. So this is, really worldwide genocide. Pfizer and all of the people that they colluded with, the FDA, many other people have intentionally created biomedical warfare against not just the American people, but people globally, to create sterilization, to create all sorts of different things. And I'm sorry, this is very, very heavy news and information. But again, I do encourage you to read the information in the book for yourself and start to question the people that we believe have been put in power to potentially protect us, whether that's the FDA, the government, the legal system. It's very, very important that we're really looking at who we're keeping in power, who we're appointing to power, and who we are holding accountable to make sure we clean out the rotten apples, so to speak. Now, again, we make this comparison to NXIVM because a very similar thing happened in the NXIVM case. And I will put a Newsweek article in the link below that compiles all of the evidence that has been looked at by 7 different experts in the NXIVM case, plus an outside expert from Newsweek that was hired by Newsweek to actually look over and scour over all of the experts that were hired by Raniere to look at the digital forensics information, the evidence that had been planted on the hard drive, all of these other egregious things that were done to frame this gentleman and put him in jail for 120 years. And I think it's important to start to see these parallels. I'll also put a link to Sheryl Atkinson's podcast with Rick Kiper, who's a digital forensics expert, and he was a teacher for the FBI. He's retired now, and he was absolutely horrified by the level of corruption that these individuals in the FBI had conducted themselves with. So again, I encourage you, really do your research. Really look at the facts of what's going on, not just what HBO and the media and these salacious news reports or on the Frank Report or whatever else want you to see, feel, but really look at the facts, look at who's giving you the facts, what agendas might be at play, and start to question the information that we're getting. So, sorry, not the best news this morning, but I do think it's really empowering to know that when we can start to make these distinctions and have the courage to really see the truth, we can make better decisions for ourselves, for our family, for the people we love. So hopefully this information will be empowering to you. And if you guys do have any questions or comments or anything else you'd like to share, go ahead and leave them below.